Mortgage lenders hear a lot about MERS compliance, but the annual MERS review is still an area where questions and misconceptions come up at the executive level. I'm Cassidy Tim, a manager in Richey May's Risk and Compliance Department. Today, I'm joined by one of our audit professionals, Savannah Gresham, to walk through what the annual MERS review actually covers, why it matters, and what leadership teams should be paying attention to. Savannah, let's start with the basics. At a high level, what is the annual MERS review, and why should mortgage companies care about it?
The annual MERS review is a required compliance assessment for MERS members to validate that the company is properly managing and maintaining its loan data within the MERS system. In essence, members are confirming the loan data reported to the MERS system is accurate, complete, and compliant with MERS member requirements as outlined in the MERS System Procedures Manual and the MERS Rules of Membership. For mortgage companies and their leadership, the annual MERS review matters because it ties directly to investor confidence, repurchase exposure, and regulatory scrutiny. MERS data issues often surface during due diligence, MSR transactions, and regulatory exams, so the review becomes a proactive way to identify and remediate problems before they grow into potentially larger operational, financial, or reputation risks. A clean review signals strong controls and operational maturity, which is why many leadership teams view it as an important risk management tool rather than just a compliance requirement.
Thanks, Savannah. That makes sense. So, which lenders are required to complete the annual MERS review?
The annual MERS report filing generally applies to any organization that is a MERS member and actively registers or services loans in the MERS system. That includes lenders, servicers, and subservicers. The level of review required depends on the member's actively serviced loans, also known as their MIN count, which stands for Mortgage Identification Number, as of March 31st each year. Members under 1,000 active MINs follow the smaller number requirements, while those with 1,000 or more active MINs are subject to enhanced requirements, including an independent third-party review. So really, it's less about the type of company and more about whether the organization actively participates in the MERS system and the size of its active MERS portfolio at the cutoff. What's important from a leadership standpoint is understanding that the filing of the MERS annual report is not optional, and the aforementioned loan threshold determines what type of review is necessary for the required filing. Failure to complete the review for their filing accurately and on time can result in escalated findings, additional scrutiny, and potential sanctions for members.
You mentioned the 1,000 loan threshold. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this threshold is determined?
Yeah. MERS looks at how many active loans your company has registered in the MERS system, specifically loans where your organization is listed as a servicer. They take that count as of March 31st each year. You can think of the 1,000 MIN threshold in MERS as a dividing line between smaller and larger mortgage servicers from a compliance standpoint. If you are under 1,000 active MINs, MERS considers you a smaller portfolio member. Your system-to-system reconciliations and reporting requirements are lighter, typically quarterly reconciliations, and your annual review can often be done internally, with some conditions as to who can perform it. Once you hit 1,000 loans, or more, MERS treats you as a larger member organization. At that point, the expectations increase. You're generally required to perform monthly reconciliations and obtain an independent third-party annual review of your MERS processes and controls to assist with the annual report filing in MERS. So the threshold is specifically about the number of active MERS registered loans tied to your servicing portfolio on March 31st of the current reporting year. A common misunderstanding is that MERS is counting every loan a company owns, originates, or services, but it's not. They're counting active MINs that are in the MERS system, which your organization floats the servicing rights to.
Okay, now that we know how to determine who needs this, can you talk about important dates these lenders should keep in mind?
From a timing perspective, MERS operates on a specific annual compliance calendar. Each year, MERS looks at a member's active MIN count as of March 31st. That snapshot determines whether the organization falls above or below the 1,000 active loan threshold for the upcoming reporting cycle. While MERS begins accepting annual report filings beginning June 1st, the annual report is due to MERS by December 31st of the current reporting year. The main dates to remember are March 31st, which determines your review requirements, and December 31st, which is the due date for the annual report to be submitted to MERS. Operationally, companies usually spend the months after March 31st preparing documentation and coordinating with an external reviewer or auditor before the filing deadline.
Great. March 31st and December 31st. Those are the dates to remember. Now, let's talk more about the review process. When you perform the annual MERS review, what are you looking at?
Our review centers around whether or not a member is meeting the compliance requirements set forth by MERS in the MERS System Procedures Manual and the MERS Rules of Membership. Our procedures directly correlate to the MERS reviewer recommendations. These requirements are broken out into 6 main conditions, and the findings are then summarized in the annual report filing. At a high level, review procedures boil down to a central question. Do the members' processes, controls, and system activity align with the MERS requirements both on paper and in practice?
When performing MERS reviews, what are some of the common issues that you see members or servicers encounter?
The most common issues tend to fall into 3 categories: data mismatches, unclear ownership, and limited documentation. The data mismatches occur between internal servicing systems and the MERS system, often driven by manual processes or incomplete system integrations. For unclear ownership of MERS-related processes, when accountability is spread across teams, sometimes updates can fall through the cracks. We also see unclear designations of duties between the member and servicer, which can create confusion over who is responsible for specific functions. The third common issue is limited documentation around controls. Even when processes are working, members sometimes struggle to demonstrate that effectiveness clearly, which may result in exceptions and recommendations noted during the review.
Okay, so for those of you going through a review, try to get ahead of these common issues to make the review process even smoother. Savannah, is there anything else lenders need to know heading into this annual review?
It's important for lenders to understand that members are allowed to use a third-party reviewer even if they drop below the 1,000 min threshold, rather than performing the review internally. This is something companies may want to consider for a number of reasons, such as if they expect to grow their servicing portfolio in the near term, if their dip below the 1,000 loan threshold as of March 31st is temporary, if they want to avoid the specific conditions and qualification requirements associated with serving as an internal reviewer, or if they do not currently have the capacity to complete the review timely.
This was all really good information. Savannah, thank you so much for breaking this all down for us. If you have any questions or want to leverage the Richey May experts to perform your review, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.